All right, my little lovelies. Tonight we're going to do a different story. Aunt Kimmy is going to read Jack and the Beanstalk, as you can see. All right, so I love you all. Let's begin. There was once upon a time a poor widow who had an only son named Jack and a cow named Milky White, and all they had to live on was the milk the cow gave every morning, which they carried to the market and sold. But one morning Milky White gave no milk, and they didn't know what to do. "What shall we do? What shall we do?" said the widow, wringing her hands. "Cheer up, mother. I'll go and get work somewhere," said Jack. "We've tried that before, and nobody would take you," said his mother. "We must sell Milky White with the money to start shop or something." "All right, mother," said Jack. "It's market day today, and I'll soon sell Milky White, and then we'll see what we can do." So he took the cow's halter in his hand, and off he started. He hadn't gone far when he met a funny-looking man who said to him, "Good morning, Jack." "Good morning to you," said Jack, and wondered how he knew his name. "Well, Jack, where are you off to?" said the man. "I'm going to the market to sell our cow here." "Oh, you look the proper sort of chap to sell cows," said the man. "I wonder if you knew how many beans make 5. 2 in each hand and 1 in your mouth," said Jack, sharp as a needle. Pretty picture. "Right you are," said the man, "and here they are. The very beans themselves," he went on, pulling out of his pockets the number of strange-looking beans. "As you are so sharp," he said, "I don't mind doing a swap with you. Your cow for the beans." "Go along," said Jack. "Wouldn't you like it?" "Ah, you do know what these beans are," said the man. "If you plant them overnight, by morning they will grow right up into the sky." "Really?" said Jack. "You don't say so." "Yes, that is so, and if it doesn't turn out to be true, you can have your cow back." "Right," said Jack, with it, and hands him over Milky White's halter and pockets the beans. Back Jack goes home, but he hadn't gone very far. It wasn't dusk by the time he got back to the door. "Back already, Jack?" said his mother. "I see you haven't got Milky White. So you've sold her? How much did you get for her?" "You'll never guess, mother," said Jack. "No, you don't say so. Good boy. 5 pounds, 10, 15? No, it can't be 20. I told you you couldn't guess. What do you say to these beans? They're magical. Plant them overnight and..." "What?" said Jack's mother. "You've been a fool, such a dolt, such an idiot as to give away Milky White, the best milker in the parish, and prime beef to boot, for a set of paltry beans. Take that, and that, and that." Basically, she's giving him a spanking, kids. If you don't know what a spanking is, ask your parents. I know they know. "And as for your precious beans, here they go out the window, and now off to bed with you. Not a bit shall you drink, and not a bit of food shall you swallow this night." Changing the words here a little bit, I know. So Jack went upstairs to his little room in the attic, and sad and sorry he was, to be sure, as much as his mother's sake as for the loss of his supper. At last he dropped off to sleep. When he woke up, the room looked funny. The sun was shining into part of it, yet all the rest was quite dark and shady. So Jack jumped up, dressed himself, and went to the window. And what do you think he saw? What do you guys think? Why, the beans his mother had thrown out the window into the garden had sprung up into a big beanstalk, which went up, 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 till it reached the sky. So the man spoke the truth after all. The beans grew quite close past Jack's window, so all he had to do was open it and give a jump onto the beanstalk, which ran up just like a big ladder. So Jack climbed, and he climbed, and he climbed, and he climbed, till at last he reached the sky. And when he got there, he found a long, broad road going straight as a dart. So he walked along, and along, and along, till he came to a great big tall house, and on the doorstep there was a great big tall woman. Good morning, ma'am, says Jack quite polite-like. Would you be so kind as to give me some breakfast? For I haven't had anything to eat, you know. The night before I was as hungry as a hunter. It's breakfast you want, is it? Said the great big tall woman. It's breakfast you'll be if you don't move away from here. My man is an ogre, and he likes nothing better than boys broiled on toast. You better get on moving, or he'll be home soon. Uh-oh. Oh, please, Mom, do give me something to eat. I've had nothing to eat since yesterday morning, really and truly, Mum, says Jack. I may as well be broiled as die of hunger. Ooh, he is awful hungry. Well, the ogre's wife was not half so bad after all. She took Jack into the kitchen and gave him a chunk of bread and cheese and a jug of milk. But Jack hadn't finished these when thump, thump, thump. The whole house began to tremble with the noise of someone coming. Goodness gracious me, it's my old man, said the ogre's wife. What on earth shall I do? Come along and quick jump into here. She bundled Jack in the oven just as the ogre came in. He was a big one, to be sure, and at his belt he had 3 calves strung by their heels. He unhooked them and threw them down on the table and said, Here, wife, broil me a couple of these for breakfast. Ah, what's this I smell? Fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he alive or be he dead, I'll have his bones to grind my bread. Nonsense, dear, you're dreaming. Or perhaps you smell scraps of that little boy you liked so much for dinner yesterday. Here, you go and wash and tidy up, and by the time you come back, your breakfast will be ready for you. So the ogre went, and Jack was just going to jump out of the oven and run away when the woman told him not. Wait till he's asleep, she says. He always dozes after breakfast. Well, the ogre had his breakfast, and he goes to a big chest and takes out a couple of bags of gold. He sits down and counts till his head begins to nod, and he begins to snore till the whole house shook again. Then Jack crept out on tiptoe from his oven. As he was passing, the ogre took one of the bags under his arm, and off he pelters till he came to the beanstalk, and then he threw down the bag of gold, which of course fell into his mother's garden. And then he climbed down and climbed down and climbed down till at last he got home and told his mother and showed her the gold and said, Well, Mother, wasn't I right about the beans? They really are magical, you see. So they lived on the bag of gold for some time, but at last they came to the end of it, and Jack made up his mind to try his luck once more up at the top of the beanstalk. So one fine morning he rose early and got on the beanstalk, and he climbed and climbed and climbed, till at last he came out on top of the road again, up to the great big tall house he had been to before. There, sure enough, was the big tall woman standing on the doorstep. Good morning, Mum, says Jack, as bold as brass. Could you be so good as to give me something to eat? Go away, my boy, said the big tall woman, or else my man will eat you up for breakfast. But aren't you the youngster who came here once before? Do you know that very day my man missed one of his bags of gold? That's strange, Mum. I dare say I could tell you something about that, but I'm so hungry I can't speak till I've had something to eat. Well, the big, tall woman was so curious, she took him. Oh, there's that beanstalk we've been talking about. It's a big one, isn't it? Look at that, it goes all the way up. She took him in and gave him something to eat, but he had scarcely begun munching it as slowly as he could when thump, 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 they heard the giant's footsteps, and the wife hid Jack away in the oven. All happened as it did before. In came the ogre as he did before and said, Fee, fi, fo, fum, and had his breakfast off 3 broiled oxen. Then he said, Wife, bring me some hen. Bring me the hen that lays the golden eggs. So she brought it, and the ogre said, "Lay," and the hen laid an egg, all of gold. Then the ogre began to nod his head and snore till the house shook. Then Jack crept out of the oven on tiptoe and caught hold of the golden hen, and he was off before you could say Jack Robinson. But this time the hen gave a cackle which woke up the ogre, and just as Jack got out of the house he heard him calling, "Wife, wife, what have you done with my golden hen?" The wife said, "Why, my dear? Why, my dear?" But that was all Jack heard, for he rushed off to the beanstalk, climbed down like a house on fire, when he got home he showed his mother the wonderful hen. He said, "Lay" to it, and it laid a golden egg every time he said "lay." Well, Jack was not content, and it wasn't very long before he was determined to have another trip tried his luck and up to the top of the beanstalk. So one fine morning he rose up early and got to the top of the beanstalk. He climbed and climbed and climbed. Ah, there's a chicken. Cool. I like chicken. And there's our ogre. He was a big one. Till he got to the top, but this time he knew better than to go straight to the ogre's house. When he got near it, he waited behind a bush till he saw the ogre's wife come out with a pail of water, and then he crept into the house and got into the copper. He hadn't been there long when he heard thump, thump, thump. As before, in came the ogre and his wife. "Fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell the blood of an Englishman," cried out the ogre. "I smell him, wife, I smell him." "Do you, my dearie?" says the ogre's wife. "Then if it's the little rogue who stole your golden hen and laid the golden eggs, he's sure to have got into the oven." And they both rushed to the oven, but Jack wasn't there. Luckily, and the ogre's wife said, "There you are again with your fee-fi-foing. Why, of course it's the boy you caught last night, and I've just broiled for your breakfast. How forgetful I am! How careless you are not to know the difference between live and dead after all these years." So the ogre sat down to breakfast and ate it. But every now and again he would mutter, "Well, I could have sworn," and he'd get up and search the larder and the cupboards and everything, only luckily he didn't think of the copper. After breakfast was over, the ogre called out, "Wife, wife, bring me my golden harp." So she brought it out and put it on the table before him. Then he said, "Sing," and the golden harp sang most beautifully, and it went on singing until the ogre fell asleep and commenced to snore like thunder. Then Jack lifted up the copper lid very quietly and got down like a mouse and crept on hands and knees until he came to the table. When up he crawled, caught hold of the golden harp, and dashed with it toward the door. But the harp cried out quite loud, "Master, master!" and the ogre woke up just in time to see Jack running off with his harp. Jack ran as fast as he could, and the ogre came rushing after him, as would soon have caught him, only Jack had a start and dodged him a bit and knew where he was going. When he got to the beanstalk, the ogre was not more than 20 yards away, when suddenly he saw Jack disappear. And when he got to the beanstalk... Oh, goodness me, I'm losing my thing here. When he saw Jack disappear, and when he came to the end of the road, he saw Jack underneath, climbing down for dear life. Well, the ogre didn't like trusting himself to such a ladder, but he stood and waited, so Jack got another start. But just then the harp cried out, "Master, master!" And with his weight down... And the ogre swung himself down on the beanstalk, which shook with his weight. Down climbs Jack, and after him climbed the ogre. By this time Jack had climbed down and climbed down and climbed down till he was very nearly home. So he called out, "Mother, mother, bring me the axe, and bring me the axe." And when his mother came rushing out with the axe in her hands, but when she came to the beanstalk, she stood in shock, with fright, when she saw the ogre with his legs coming through the clouds. But Jack jumped down and got hold of the axe and gave a chop to the beanstalk, which cut it in half and two. The ogre felt the beanstalk shake and quiver, so he stopped to see what was the matter. Then Jack gave another chop with the axe, and the beanstalk was cut in two and began to topple over. Then the ogre fell down, broke his crown, and the beanstalk came toppling after. Then Jack showed his mother the golden harp, and showing that and selling the golden eggs, Jack and his mother became very rich, and he married a great princess, and they lived happily ever after. Oh, there's our last picture, y'all. Oh, look at that. There's our harp and our ogre, and that's gotta be everybody down here. Oh, look, the cow came home. Huh. A fairy, maybe? That's a new one. Never seen fairies in Jack and the Beanstalk before. Well, that's the end of that book tonight, or that story tonight. Me and my toes are going to bed. Haha. I hope you guys have a good sleep. Be careful. I love you, and be safe.